Chapter 8. The Journal.
We have geos that need to be treated and equipment to get ready for our trip back to our colonies. In 3 days, at noon, we will meet at the ridge overlooking the West Wall. We need to talk in private and discuss how we plan to handle the shortages that the council may be planning,
said Deus. Penet and Soria agreed.
I hate to ask, but I don't suppose anyone remembered to bring me something to trade at the market while you were on your mission, reminded Blink.
Deus said,
Little friend, we keep our promises. As she reached into her armor and presented a small chain with a round medallion attached to it covered in dirt. I didn't have time to clean it up for you, but a promise is a promise.
Deus, thank you. This will get me a whole basket of fruit and soups. How did you remember this with all the rebels shooting at you?
They weren't shooting the whole time we were there. Blink. That was at the end of the day. I noticed this in the ruins as I was patrolling the area with my troops.
Thank you so much, Deus. You are always so good to me.
You're always good to our people, Blink. I'm glad to help.
Blink looked at Penet, who was already holding out a tarnished fork, spoon and knife that she had discovered.
This should be worth its weight in soup powder, Blink. I wanted to get more, but we got distracted.
No, Penet. This will do just fine. I can turn this into a feast for dozens of your people. Thank you for remembering me.
Penet smiled as Blink slowly looked at Soria, who was acting like she had no idea what was going on.
Well,
said Blink.
Well, what?
Replied Soria.
You think I was looking for things to trade at the market while I was being shot at?
Blink, looking disappointed with Soria, said,
I understand, Soraya. I know you have a dangerous job. I'm not upset.
Well, I certainly hope not. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to give you this,
said Soria, holding out a jar with a white powder in it.
What is this, Soria?
Asked Blink with a puzzled look on her face.
Open it and taste it.
How do you know what it is, Soria?
I tasted it, Blink. Try it.
Blink reluctantly opened the lid and took a tiny bit of the white sunlight powder from the jar and placed it on her tongue. Her eyes got big as she said,
Salt. Soraya, you found salt? Do you know what this is worth in the market? This can season meats and vegetables. There's a whole jar here.
So, are we even on the candy, Blink?
Blink jumped in the air and tried to hug Soria, who put her hand up and said,
I don't do hugs. Blink, how about a handshake?
As Soria put her hand out, Blink grabbed it and hugged her arm.
Funny, I don't do handshakes when people bring me salt. Think of this as a compromise.
Deus and Penet laughed at the look on Soria's face as Blink hugged her arm. Penet said,
Perhaps you should have brought her back a fork instead.
Blink let Soria's arm go and said,
Soria, do you know how many of your people I can help with this one jar of salt? This will get medicine, food, fruit, and if I split it up into small portions, I can get everything I need from the market for days. You're the best, Soria.
I thought I was the best,
said Penet.
No, you're my favorite. Soria's the best,
said Blink, as she realized she left Deus out.
And Deus, you...
Deus interrupted.
It's okay, little friend. You're running out of ways to make everyone number one. I'll settle for knowing you are using what we give you to help our people.
I'm grateful to each of you for remembering me. I will see that these things are put to good use in Deus. I am here to help you get any answers you need. I hope you will include me in your plans when you decide how to respond to the news from Samar.
We will see, Blink. I have no plans to put you in harm's way if I don't need to, but I will let you know if there is anything you can do. Meanwhile, remember, not a word of this to anyone,
said Deus, looking serious.
You have my word, Deus. I will not say anything to anyone about what was discussed here.
The war commanders went about their day of getting their troops back to their colonies and regrouping after the mission. The following morning started like each day normally did, but Deus had a lot on her mind. Each of the wall commanders had a lot of responsibilities to see to each day, but Deus found herself distracted as she questioned the best strategy for the council's actions. By evening, she realized that she had not seen Blink all day. It was not unusual for Blink to go missing for a few days, but Deus suspected she would pop up with news of how she used her newfound treasure to secure a great deal on food at the market. The day passed slowly as Deus ran the problems through her mind over and over all day with no answers. The following morning started the same way. The first thing on Deus's mind was her people and the danger she could be required to put them in the next time the council sent them into the wastelands. If the council hoped to thin out the troops, they would be sending them back into danger very soon. As Deus sat on her small bed, thinking about what the day required, there was a knock on her door. She stood up and walked to the entrance and was met by a tall geo-soldier standing with Blink at his side.
Commander Deus, I would have turned her away this early in the morning, but she insisted that you would want to see her,
said the soldier escorting Blink.
It's fine. Leave her here and return to your post, Guardian.
Yes, Commander Deus,
he replied as he turned and left. Deus motioned for Blink to come in and have a seat.
You've never insisted on getting into the courtyard this early in the morning, Blink, so I assume you have a good reason.
I have something for you, and I thought it would be best to see you before you are surrounded by soldiers and curious eyes,
Blink said as she reached into her bag and took out a small, leather-bound book that looked like it had been used for many years.
What's this?
Asked Deus as Blink handed her the book.
It's a journal from Dr. Narrett. He was the lead researcher in charge of Project Time Delay nearly 75 years ago.
Project Time Delay. I haven't heard that name since the Caleb War. That was the project that brought about the birth of our people,
said Deus, looking at the book in amazement.
How did you get this, Blink?
It belongs to my father. Dr. Narrett was his mentor. When word reached Dr. Narrett that the council had taken over his research, he saw the writing on the wall and knew that anyone who knew the truth about the project would likely be exiled. He secretly gave this book to my father. It contains the daily summary of the creation of the geos that Dr. Narrett would document at the end of each day. My father said that you should read this journal and keep it hidden.
Blink, I thought I was clear that I didn't want you bringing letters and written documents through the wall again. It is too dangerous, and if you are discovered with something like this, the price will be exile for anyone involved.
You were very clear about that, Deus, but, respectfully, I thought I was equally clear that I take risks every day, and I deserve your confidence and respect for the job I do. You have to trust me if I am going to be of any help to you. This document contains information that might offer hope for your people. I think that is worth taking risks for, even if it is the risk of exile.
Deus studied Blink's face for a moment and surrendered to the idea that Blink was taking risks. But it could be that her risks were equal to the value of the information she could provide.
Have you read it?
I have, Deus. It speaks of a different version of events than what your people or the residents of the city have been told.
Different? What is different about the Doctor's story?
The journal says that the discovery of the time capsule was a mystery until their research revealed a descendant of the creator who was living within the city. Her DNA was needed to activate the capsule's technology.
Wait. Are you saying there is a descendant of the creator living in the city?
Not anymore. They located her and took her prisoner. They used her to unlock the capsule's safeguards, and then they took her to the wastelands, where she was either left to die or perhaps even killed at the order of the council. The doctor doesn't say because no one ever heard from her again.
Blink. The creator was said to have the ability to destroy an entire army without a weapon in her hand. How could her offspring be taken prisoner and executed?
Dr. Naris theorized that the source of the creator's power was a combination of animal DNA and a primitive form of miniature robotic technology. He believed that each generation of the creator's offspring was given a choice to have her power or live a normal life. He says that the hologram that was in the time capsule was of the creator, and that she explained the danger and hardship of having her power, but gave each descendant the option to have her power placed in them. Over time, he believes the descendants just stopped talking about her and forgot her story until the capsule was discovered. Her descendants had become more and more human with each generation, but the technology she created was more advanced than some of the work done even today within the city. It was too complicated for our scientists to decode. But once the hologram was activated, it created the Omni, who used a small electronic device that was in the capsule to create the pure georace to defend the city.
That part of the story is not so different from what the older geos already know, Blink.
Wait, there's more. The doctor's journal says that the Omni began to realize that something was not right about the council and believed she was being lied to in order to create weapons to protect the interest of the council rather than to protect the city. He says that she suddenly vanished and was never heard from again after creating only 50 geos to defend the city instead of the large army that the council demanded.
She vanished. Where did she go?
No, Deus. The doctor uses the word vamiscio when he says she vanished. That is a term only the residents of the great city Karmat used, and it means to literally disappear in a smoke or mist of particles. It's pretty clear that he meant she just disappeared. According to his description of her, the council is probably lucky that's all she did. He went on to say that she had a great deal of power and could have potentially wiped out the entire city with a single wave of her hand.
That sounds a bit like an exaggeration, Blink. No one is that powerful.
You are assuming she was human. I don't think the Omni was a person at all. She was something else that the Creator made according to Dr. Narrett.
Blink, if the Omni vanished all those years ago, who's been giving us our orders?
I don't know, Deus, but I think it's safe to say you can't trust the orders you get anymore. My guess would be that the council put someone in place to send you the orders that are given by Sumark.
You said the Omni used a device to create my people. I'm assuming that was the blueprint that we have been told about all these years. If the Omni was not using it to create geos, then the council must have it and found a way to create geos that were not the same as the first geos. I've always believed the Omni chose to alter the blueprint to create helpers for the city. Do you think the council has the ability to manipulate the device she used to create weaker geos to serve them?
Deus, it seems unlikely that if the researchers were unable to even activate the hologram without the DNA of the Creator, that they could use the device meant for the Omni. I think the council had the DNA labs use a live geo to create the cells for the altered geos.
Why would you think that, Blink? That's quite a heap of reasoning to just assume.
It's not my reasoning. It's Dr. Narrett's. He says in this journal that they are unable to understand the Creator's design for the technology she used, and that the council had taken one of the pure geos from their lab and insisted that no record be made of it. There were 50 pure geo soldiers, but there may have been at least one more that no one knew existed. Dr. Narrett believed the missing geo was the reason the Omni became suspicious. It was as if she was connected to the pure geos in a way that told her one was taken by the council, even though no one told her.
If the researchers in the city were not able to use the technology made by the Creator, then we can assume it would do us no good to find the blueprint since no one, but the Omni could use it.
Deus, our people have no hope. I know it's a stupid idea, but I have to mention it. Do you think if the blueprint were back in the hands of the pure geos, the DNA of the Creator might somehow have been part of your design if it was needed to activate the capsule?
That's a long shot, Blink. I mean, maybe, but we don't know where the blueprint is, so we can't even try to use it. I must admit, though, while I doubt the pure geos would be able to use the technology, I can't help but wonder if the Omni would return to her people if the blueprint was back in the hands of the pure geos.
Deus, we don't have many options to choose from, and time is running out for your people. If there is even a small chance that you or one of the other pure geos could use the blueprint to heal your people or even cause the Omni to return and help them, I don't know how we could just walk away and not at least try.
Blink, I admire your courage and your love for my people, but we don't have any idea where to even begin looking for the blueprint, and the city is off limits to the geos. How would we search for it?
Deus, the doctor had more to say about the device the Omni used. He made an entry at the end of the Caleb war occupation of the city and said the greatest loss the city suffered at the hands of Caleb was not the damage to the city, but the loss of the Omni's source of power.
Blink, are you saying he believed Caleb's army took the blueprint?
The doctor doesn't say that specifically, but it does say that it was the source of the Omni's power. Based on his other entries, the Omni clearly had power that did not come from the blueprint device, but it makes sense that if she was using it to create the pure geos, she needed it to make them. It would have appeared to be a source of power to anyone who observed her using it to create geos. It has to be the blueprint, Deus.
I see your point, little friend. There's no guarantee, but I have to admit, I haven't come up with any solutions for our apparent planned extinction, and finding the blueprint may prove easier if it was taken into the wastelands than it would if it's within the city walls where we cannot go.
The wastelands stretch on forever, Deus. Caleb could have taken it anywhere.
I don't think so. little friend. The device would have been seen as important and powerful. It would have been something Caleb would not just leave anywhere. I think it stands to reason that if we can locate the place where Caleb took his people after they were cast out of the city, we will find the blueprint there. It would be seen as a trophy that came at great cost. The rebels probably still have it.
I don't think finding the rebels will be easy, and if we do, they are not likely to just tell us where they have it.
Finding the rebels will be easy. All we have to do is drive a caravan into the wastelands. Convincing them to tell us where their camp is, now that may be a bit more complicated. They will die before they give up their own people to a Geo.
Perhaps Deus, but I am not a Geo. I think they would be much more likely to hear me out because I am a human. I have no geocode, and they don't think citizens are able to leave the city. The only conclusion they could come to is that I am one of them.